Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us on this advanced webinar series on securely configure unattended devices and access from home using Zoho Remotely. My name is Anjana Mahesh, and my colleague Anis Ahmed is here, who is our product expert, and we will be your hosts for today. Our webinar session will be very beneficial on how to interact seamlessly with your teammates and clients who have unexpectedly found themselves managing business remotely in this period of uncertainty. If you have any questions during the webinar, feel free to ask them through the chat box you see on your screen and we will answer them. Please note that this webinar is being recorded and the recording will be shared with you shortly. Without any further setback, let me dive into the session. Let's have a look at the agenda of this webinar session. I'm going to give you a quick overview about Zoho, just on what Zoho Remotely is. And then the most important part of our webinar session, our product expert will walk you through the Zoho Assist. We will also be sharing few important knowledge-based user guide links at the end of the session. And finally, we will dive into question and answers. A bit about Zoho. We have been in the market for over 20 plus years, building softwares for both small and medium businesses. And our presence is in more than 190 plus countries with 40 plus applications to run your business from end to end. We have around 50 plus million users across the globe who trust and run their companies on using Zoho application. Not just that, we are over 8,000 plus employees and we believe Zoho runs on Zoho. Zoho's application ecosystem has a customizable operating system for business, which combines dozens of cloud-based applications with a centralized admin panel. But today, let's talk about the remotely. As you all know, Rome wasn't built in a day, but Zoho Remotely, a suite of applications that help you to communicate, collaborate, and provide remote support and access was all put together in under a week, while over 90% of our workforce were working from their home around the world. And we would like to share this experience with businesses trying to keep going during the pandemic. Our privacy policy. At Zoho, we value our privacy. We never have and never will own your data. Your data is safe in our own data center, and we will do not sell your data to the third parties. Zoho is a GDPR compliant. We never host advertisements, even in our free versions of products. Let's take a quick product overview about Zoho Remotely. As you can see from the screen, we have actually divided them into 4 different sessions. But to begin with, like the effective team collaboration is the biggest challenge today, as we all know. So most of us are stuck in our houses with no means to meet our colleagues or customers face to face and discuss idea or issues. Trying to communicate only through emails or text it's very difficult, and often we intended to message but they don't get delivered as well. So considering all of these factors, Zoho Remotely is delivered as a 11 suite carefully crafted application which falls into 4 categories, as I said before: communication, collaboration, remote assist, and productivity. So let us have a first look at the Zoho Remotely, starting with our user home. So the screen you see is the user home. Applications that have been assigned to a user can be accessed from the user home. In this image, all the 11 applications have been added. If you see under Communicate Remotely, we have Click, Showtime, Meeting, which is the communication tools. And under Collaborate Remotely, we have WorkDrive, Projects, and Sprints, which you can actually collaborate effectively. Then we have Assist Remotely, would be Assist and Lens, which is the access tools. And we have Zoho Writer, the powerful word processor sheet to create and manage spreadsheets, and Show for creating presentations are our productivity tools. And the right header of the user home screen has an access button that takes you to the admin panel. Now let's jump into our today's topic. We all are aware that moving away from conventional work methods has increased overall productivity. Technical issues, or many more, I would say, being away from the office. It's been a really new challenge nowadays. We have decided to help our customers by giving this demo session on how to make the best use of Zoho Assist for remote work. Without any setback, let's jump into the main part of this webinar session. We have our product expert, Anis, here. Anis, over to you. We have Anis here, who's our product expert.
Thank you, Anjana. Hi,
Yeah.
everyone. I hope you're all able to see my screen now. You do? Could you confirm if you're able to see my screen? Anjana, do you see my screen now?
Hi, Anis. Yes, absolutely. We can
Okay,
see your
thank
screen.
you.
It's perfect. Thank you.
Thank you, Anjana, for the introduction. So today we will see what Zoho Assist is doing in remotely in terms of getting your work done more easy. So like Anjana has been explaining, we have around some 8,000 employees working from home right now in this pandemic. And we keep our business going with these set of tools we have under remotely. Most essentially, Zoho Assist, we have two different segments in Zoho Assist. One, assisting the customers in terms of attended session whenever they come with a query or issues on their computer. We use attended sessions to take control of their computer and fix the issue even if you're working from home. Now, other portion of Zoho Assist is most essential tool in terms of accessing your office network or office resources from home, which is unattended access. So in this webinar, I will cover how you can securely configure a computer for unattended access and take control of it anytime without anyone beside that computer. So when I say unattended access in this webinar, I have parted it into three. In the first portion, I'll explain you how you can configure a computer for unattended access. And then in the second segment, I will explain you how you can access it and what are the options you get after accessing the unattended computer. And the third segment, I'll explain you what other options you have in terms of configuring or managing these computers that are configured for unattended access, how the privacy works in unattended access, because we all know when it comes to unattended access, it's a little challenging in terms of privacy. Anyone can access it anytime. I'll explain you how it is restricted. And also, once we are all done with the unattended sessions, how you can completely remove it from your account. So this is how the unattended access works. To configure a computer for unattended access, the essential part is installing the unattended agent onto the remote computer. The regular remote support session works person to person. So the person starts a remote support session. There will be another person at the remote end to enter the key and join the session. Now, when it comes to unattended access, this agent that is installed on the remote computer replaces a whole person out there. So this agent will automatically communicate with the gateway that is in the cloud, and the technician connects through the same gateway to have access to the unattended computer at the remote end. The requirements to set up an unattended session: the technician can be on any device that has a browser, which means the technician can start a remote support session from Windows, Mac, or Linux computer. And also, the technician can have access to the unattended computer from mobile devices like Android or any iOS devices. For now, unattended computer can be a Windows, Mac, or Linux computer. We also support mobile devices like Android devices, and also the unattended computer can be from Raspberry Pi. So here we are into the first segment of configuring computer for unattended access. So like I mentioned earlier, to set up a computer for unattended access, the essential portion is to install the unattended agent onto the remote computer. If you have the unattended agent on the remote computer, which is turned on and connected to internet, we are good to have access to that computer. So configuring a computer for unattended access, we have three different methods. One, you can either download the unattended installer and install it onto the remote computer directly if you're on the unattended computer itself. Or the second method we have is deploy. We have a deployment link that can be shared with the person at the other end so that they can download the installer and install it onto that computer. The next we have is bulk deployment method, which is to configure a huge number of computers for unattended access. Let's see them one by one. The first one we have is download installer. So to download the unattended agent onto the computer, if you're on the computer itself, which you're looking to configure for unattended access, you can log into assist.zoho.com. When you go into assist.zoho.com, it will prompt you to log in using your registered Zoho account. Now, after you log into your account, all the unattended computers that you configured will be associated with your account so that others cannot have access to it. It's just you or the members you add to your organization will have access to the unattended computers you configure. Now, after going to assist.zoho.com, I can click on unattended access. That will list all the computers configured for unattended access. Now, to configure a new computer, if I am on the computer itself, I can click on deployment. I see add devices. The moment I click on add device, I see various methods through which I can configure the computer for unattended access. Now below download installer, I have the installers for various operating systems, right from Windows all the way to Raspberry Pi. Now, if I am on a Windows computer, that has to be configured for unattended access, which means the computer I'm in right now is the one I would need to be an unattended computer. I can download the installer by clicking on the operating system. I just click on it, download it, and execute it. So the moment I execute the installer on this computer gets added in the portal, and I can have access to it anytime I need. So this is when you're on the computer itself that has to be configured for unattended access. Now, the next we have is deployment link. Now, if you're not on the computer, that has to be the unattended computer. But then if there is someone else on that computer, you can share this link to the person the other end so that they can download the link and download the unattended installer from the link and execute on their computer. To do that, under deployment, you can click on add devices. You see deployment link. You can either copy this link, and if you are already in contact with them over Click or Zoho Mail, you can simply paste this link and send it over to them. The moment they click on the link, it will automatically download the installer that will execute on their computer. And as soon as it is executed, the computer gets added in the portal for you to access it. Or you can also email them directly by clicking on share, enter the recipient's email address, and click on send. So this will trigger an email to them with the link on it, and the procedure goes the same. As soon as they click on the link, it will download the unattended agent, and as it is installed, the computer gets added to the portal for you to access. Now, the next we have is bulk deployment method. This is when you have a larger number of computers, like a lab setup, or maybe a set of computers in your office. All of them has to be configured for unattended access. Now, it's quite impossible for you to sit behind each and every computer and then download yourself and install on those computers manually. Or even if it is a deployment link, the person on those computers will have to click on the link on each computer, download it manually, and execute it. So it makes the work even harder. So it's heavy for the person at the remote end to get all these computers configured for unattended access. So that's when we use a bulk deployment method. We have 3 different methods through which you can configure a larger number of computers for unattended access. Now, let me show them one by one. To configure multiple computers for unattended access under deployment, we have a few options here, starting from distributor. You have Windows Group Policy and our native tool to deploy the unattended agent. Starting from distributor, you can configure multiple computers in a domain. To configure multiple computers in a domain, you need to add a domain under distributor. So here I have the domain called Zoho Corp, and I have added a computer from that particular domain, preferably domain controller. So I have the domain controller added to the domain. Now when I click on add computers, it lists all the computers in that particular domain. Now I have around some 3,233 computers in that particular domain. I can simply click on select all, which will pick all the computers, and I can click on deploy now. The moment I click on deploy now, unattended agent gets installed onto all those computers silently, and all of them will be listed in my portal for me to access anytime I need. So this is one method. Or I can also not just pick all of them, I can pick specific set of computers and just configure those computers for unattended access. Or I can pick all of them gets added in the list, but choose not to configure all of them for unattended access at once. I'll just add them to my portal. I click on add and deploy later. So this will just add all these computers into my portal, but then I can choose which of them should be configured for unattended access and which has just to be there in the portal without configuring for unattended access. So these computer gets added and I can choose when they have to be configured for unattended access. This is one method where you can deploy the unattended agent onto multiple computers in just one click. Here it's 3,200 computers. So the moment I click on deploy now, all of them are ready for me to access. The next I have is the GPO. So if you have been working with Windows computer, you should be eased with a Windows group policy. So with Windows group policy, we usually deploy patches or any updates onto multiple devices silently. We can use the same method also to deploy the unattended agent. So all that you have to do is just download Zoho Assist startup script and then create a policy under Windows group policy and just run the startup script, which will deploy the unattended agent onto all the devices in your network. The next we have is our native tool. So this is pretty easy. You just have to download the package. And the moment you execute it, this will let you pick either a work group or a domain in your network. So if you have maintained your own work group, you can pick the work group, you can add in the work group name, you can enter the work group account credential, that is your domain admin credential, which will list all the computers in that particular work group. Like we did with distributor, you can either distribute the unattended agent onto all those devices in one click, or you can pick list of computers from that particular work group or a domain, and then install the unattended agent only to those specific set of computers. So here, we did see how we can configure the computer for unattended access, and we realized once it is configured, they all will be listed for me to access it. So these are the various methods through which I can configure the unattended access, which means I can install the unattended agent onto devices out there. Now, let me show you what happens after configuring the computer for unattended access, how you can take control of it, and what all the options you get after accessing the unattended computer. Now, I did install the Untitled agent onto multiple computers, either through Windows Group Policy or downloaded the installer myself and install it, or even with the link. Now, the moment I do that, all the computers will get listed under Unattended Access tab. And we also have different state beside each computer that explains the status of the computer. For example, I have one test computer here that was configured long back, which has been disconnected from internet some three months ago. Now here it shows power on beside that computer and it's grayed out. I cannot access it. Whereas I have another computer called Demo PC, which is configured again at the same time, but then this computer is connected to internet. And I have someone from my team, or one of my colleagues, is accessing it already. So here I see join, which means the person is already working on that computer. And if required, I can click on join and join as a second technician onto that computer and work along with my colleague. Or if it is a fresh installation, I have installed a computer for unattended access and I do not have anyone accessing that computer, I see connect button beside it. So whenever I need to have access to that computer, I can simply click on connect. It starts a session. It connects through the gateway. It invokes the unattended agent on the remote computer. And if I take a minute for the agent at the remote computer to communicate with the gateway, and as soon as it does, I have access to that computer. So this is what most of our employees here in Zoho use to access the computers in the office while we're all working from home. And this let us access all the resources, even without VPN. If I have any confidential data in my computer that I should have access to, I simply connect through the unattended session, have access to the computer in the office and work on it. Now, before I explain what a technician has during the unattended session, let me explain what the agent, the unattended agent on the remote computer, provides the person at the remote end. So we expect on an unattended computer to be completely unattended, which usually is not. So sometimes there may be a colleague, who jumps into the office for whatever reason and sits right in front of my computer while I'm working on that computer. So this tool helps the person at the remote end to communicate with me, which means first thing is they can see who is working on that computer. It gives them my name. They can also initiate a chat, talk to us, or if they wanted to share anything, or if, in case they wanted to let us know if that is something on the computer itself which has to be looked into, can be communicated over chat. Additionally, they can also use the annotation that lets them point out something on the computer for me to focus into while I'm looking at the computer. Also, if required, they can also initiate a file transfer and transfer the file between the remote computer and my computer. So these are the options we have in the toolbar while on the remote support session. Now coming down to the technician portion. Now after taking control of my unattended computer, I have options starting from view. So this view will let me see the way the remote screen has to be on my computer. So we definitely have this issues in the screen size and screen resolution when we take access of the computer. Precisely, the computer I have in my office has a larger monitor with very good resolution, whereas the laptop I use is just 17-inch, which is a tiny monitor. So we definitely have this issues with screen exchange. So I can choose to have fit to screen, actual size, or full screen mode, which gives me an experience as if I'm on the computer itself while I'm on the remote support session. Now, apart from this, I also have an option to change the color quality, because When I say unattended computers, most of the times they are servers, and we all know how servers are set up. Most of them are set up in the basement with no good monitors or poor bandwidth, or maybe it does not have proper internet connection. And even if it has a proper internet connection, there may be real heavy applications running on it, which eats a lot of bandwidth, which will eventually reflect in the remote support session you are. So to manage it, what you could do is you can change the image quality starting from 25 all the way to 100%. So if you think there is another application on that computer which is occupying a lot of bandwidth, to increase the speed of communication you are in, you can choose the basic image quality, which is 25%. Or if it has better internet connection and you need to see the images on the remote computer as they are, you can choose 100%. By default, it will be set to 75% or automatic, which means if there is any fluctuation in the bandwidth on the remote end, it automatically switches from 25 to 100 as it requires. The next I have is session. The first option under session is invite technician. So when I'm working on a server, not necessarily it is my computer, but a server that is in the office, which is again unattended. Now I've got onto the computer, I'm working on it, and after some time I feel that it is beyond my expertise. We have a different department in the office working with different rules and protocols. So I find this is beyond my expertise, and I need the next level of expert to join a remote support session, or a person from different department who is again my colleague join a remote support session to work along. I can click on invite technician. I can invite my colleague using their email address. Let's say I'm inviting Balaji, and click on invite. So the moment I click on invite, link over email will be sent to that particular person. They can click on the link to join the session I'm on right now. Or I can also copy the link. We always have a method of communicating internally. We all use Click. So we just simply copy this link, put it in the Click, and ask my colleague to join the remote support session. So as soon as they join the session, we both can work on the same computer at the same time. Now, it's not just working on the same computer at the same time. The best part here is after some time, if I have another appointment to be taken care of, I cannot sit along with my colleague looking at this while he is working. So I can simply exit off the session so that the session gets transferred over to my colleague, and they can continue work on it while I am back to my own appointments. The next I have is Alt Tab. So if you notice, when I wanted to connect to the unattended computer, it did not want any kind of download. I just clicked on Connect, and it took me to a new tab, like it just opens up a new web page, and I'm connected to the remote computer within the browser. So as a browser, we have few restrictions that a browser lays by default. So whenever I want to send a command with few key combinations, like I just click on Alt Tab on my computer, the browser does not recognize it because it's an application by itself. So it will do an Alt Tab on the local computer, switching from this tab to another tab. But then I want to do Alt Tab on the remote computer, for which I have Alt Tab button here. So because it is within the browser, we managed to capture most of the key combinations, which I will explain one after the other, starting from Alt Tab. So the moment I click on Alt Tab, and if I have multiple tabs open on the remote computer, it switches tabs on the remote computer. Now I have taken control of a computer. Let's say it's my computer, which is in office. And while I'm working on it, I notice the mouse cursor moving on the remote end, which I did not do. So I realized there is someone at the remote computer, and I do not want them to work on my computer. So what I could immediately do is click on Disable Remote Input Devices. So the moment I click on Disable Input Devices, you get a message, which is a confirmation again. Your customer's mouse and keyboard will be disabled. I click on OK. It goes to my notifications. With this, the person at the remote end will not be able to use the keyboard or mouse until I revoke the connection here. So when I'm done with the work, I can click on revoke. So the person at the remote end can continue work on that computer. Now, it's not just disabling the remote input. If I'm opening up a few confidential data on the screen, and if I think, okay, there may be someone right in front of the screen who might look into these data that I'm opening up, and I don't want them to do that, I can also click on blank screen. So again, with a confirmation, you can click OK. And as soon as I click OK, it goes to my notification on the technician end. And on the customer end, it says, which is on the remote end, it says, this computer is being privately accessed by the technician's name. Here it says it is accessed by Anis. So it's just a blank screen with this message on it, which means I can perform any action on this computer, open up my account information or any confidential data that I need to open. I can open it, work on it, and the person on the remote end will not be able to see it. Now, once I'm done with that, in the notifications, I can revoke both blanketing screen and it also lets them access their mouse and keyboard. The next key combination we have is Send, Control, Alt, Delete. Like I said, because of this browser-based restriction, we managed to bring in most frequently used key combinations within the toolbar. So here, the moment I click on Send, Control, Alt, Delete, it takes the remote computer to the original screen from where I can lock the computer, switch the user, sign out the account, change the password, or access Task Manager. The next I have is a screenshot. So coming back to the scenario where I'm working on a server on behalf of someone, and I noticed that there is an issue on that computer. Maybe I witnessed a couple of error prints or error logs that has to be captured so that I can analyze it later, or maybe I can share it with my colleagues so that they can look into that particular error print and work on it, for which I can click on screenshot. The moment I click on screenshot, it captures the screen I'm looking at right now. Imagine if it is an error print, I can save it by clicking on save option here, and I can analyze the issue in the future using the screenshot, or I can instantly click on sync to cloud and share it with my colleagues so that they can look into it and start working on that error. So it's not just Alt Tab or Control Alt Delete. We also have shortcut keys. So we realize on a Windows computer, most of the key combinations are purely focused on Control, Alt, and the Windows key. So you can make any kind of key combinations primarily using these three keys. So here with shortcut keys, when I click on shortcut keys, I get the keys in here. So I can make any kind of key combinations using Control, Alt, and Windows. So for example, I need to open up a run command on the remote computer. I can simply click on the Windows logo and click on R on my keyboard, which makes a combination of Windows R and opens up the run command. Similarly, Control A, copying everything, selecting everything, and Control C, copying everything. So you can make any kind of key combinations with Control, Alt, and Windows here. Now, after session, we have tools which is so unique with Zoho Assist remote support tool. Starting from power options. Now, after taking control of the remote computer, I'm done with the work. I need to exit off the work. I need to get off the computer. I can click on lock screens, which means it will lock the remote computer. And if there is anyone on the remote computer who has to have access to that computer physically, they may have to log in with their credential so that we authorize the person who is on the remote end before actually getting onto the computer. Similarly, if there are multiple accounts on the remote computer, I can also log off from my account so that the next person who is an IT administrator who comes in can log in using their credential and get access to that computer. The next I have is reboot. So for most of the Windows users, they should have observed it. In case you install any application on a Windows computer, or if you perform any elevated operation on a Windows computer, it would require a restart for the changes to take place. So imagine you're making any changes in the registry, and immediately it will show a message saying you need to restart the computer for these changes to apply. Now, if you're on the computer itself, after making all these changes, you can restart the remote computer, and as soon as the computer is up, you can continue working on it. Now, while I'm working on that computer remotely, I should still be able to restart the computer through the restart option we have here in the toolbar. So the moment I click on reboot, are you sure you want to reboot the remote computer? As soon as I click on yes, it restarts the remote computer, and as soon as the computer is booted up, it automatically connects to the session, and I can continue working on it. So I don't need anyone at the remote end to manually connect to the session again. Similarly, most of the time, a regular reboot does not work if there is any application in the startup that keeps crashing over and over. Now, let's say if there is an application in the startup that keeps crashing. As soon as a computer is booted up, this application in the startup just crashes over and it freezes, and we may have to restart the computer again. So this is a cyclic process that happens over and over. To avoid that, what you could do is click on reboot in safe mode. The moment you click on reboot in safe mode, you get a message, or sure you want to reboot the remote computer in safe mode. I click yes, and as soon as I click yes, it reboots the remote computer in safe mode, which means it just loads the basic configuration of the remote computer, cleaning up any application in the startup. Now, with that, you can get onto the computer, you can disable all the applications in the startup, and once again, click on reboot in the normal mode, which loads the application or which loads the computer in the normal mode, and then start working on it. Now, I've been working on this computer like 15 minutes now, and I'm done with the work. So when I need to exit off the computer, I also have to make sure that this computer is secure. I was talking about the privacy when it comes to unattended. I don't have anyone at the remote computer right now. So when I exit the session, I also have to make sure that this computer is again locked, or any trespasser beside my desk should not have access to this computer. To make sure this is locked, or maybe you don't have anyone have access to this computer, I can click on shutdown. So when I'm done with the work, I can completely turn off this computer, so that if at all if anyone wants to have access to this computer, they need to turn it on and log in using their credentials. Now, apart from power options, we also have a few quick launches. So we are all in times where we calculate the duration or the productivity. Now, imagine one of my colleagues has taken control of an unattended computer and working on it. And he's been working on that computer like an hour. So eventually, I'll have to look after the productivity, or maybe know why it took so long for him to work on that computer. Why not he work on multiple computers at the same time? So the productivity, when I say productivity, is all about the actions that you do in a computer when it comes to remote support session. So if I have to install an application on this computer, I need to go to, I need to just run the application, and after all the installation widget is all done, I go back to add remove features, and then, add remove programs, and then look into the program that is installed, and if it requires any change that has to be done, I do it there. Or maybe I am on a computer that requires a driver update. I will again have to go to device manager. I have to navigate to device manager. I pick the driver which requires the driver update, and then I download the driver, execute it. So it's all about how you navigate to a specific location. When it comes to registry, again, I have to go into registry and then pick the software or whatever registry location it is. So what if you could go into a specific room or a specific location in just one click? So for example, I was talking about installing a file and checking out the files that are installed, or checking out the applications that are installed on this computer. Now, without having to click on Start, go to Control Panel, click on Add Remove Programs, I can simply click on Add Remove Programs here, and it opens up Add Remove Programs on the remote computer directly. And I can work with applications that are installed on this particular computer. Now, similarly, if I need to do a driver update, I can simply click on Device Manager. So without having to navigate to Device Manager, it opens up Device Manager right on my computer. And then I can click on Network Adapters listed. I can simply right-click on it if it requires a driver update. I can just click on Update Driver, or any other operations has to be done on these peripherals can be done also quicker. So accessing a specific location on the remote computer makes the work of a technician more quicker. So if you have a session for an hour, you can almost cut off 50% of the duration on a session if you could access a specific location on the remote computer in just one click. So when I say specific location, we managed to cover up all the location a technician would essentially use, starting from Add Remove Programs, Command Prompt, Computer Management, Control Panel, Device Manager, Display Settings, Event Viewer, Explorer, File System Management, Firewall. You can also configure a firewall in just one click. You have Group Policy Editor. I was talking about if you are a Windows user, you can create a group policy under Windows GPO. That can be done here. You can simply click on Windows Group Policy Editor. You can create a policy. You can download the startup script and run it onto multiple devices. So we managed to cover up most of the locations that a technician would usually visit on a remote computer, like NSLOOKUP, network connections, performance monitor, registry, run command again, etc. So if you think there are a few others, nice to have quick launches, you can click on Need More and request us, and we will also add them up in our next update. Now, it's not just quick launches. There are also a few administrative tasks that you can perform, starting from accessing cleanup disk, configuring a cleanup disk, accessing task scheduler, and update group policy. The next we have is file transfer. We all realize when you're working with unattended computer or any remote computer, we essentially use file transfer. So here, when I'm just at home working with a computer that is in my office, and there are a few documents in my office computer that has to be transferred to me for me to analyze it or maybe work on it, I can simply click on Busy File, choose the location, pick the file that has to be transferred. I just choose the file, I click Send, and okay, it's picking up the wrong file. So I pick a file. I have a few log files in there. I need to analyze it. I click on Send. So it just shows the file size, and click on OK. So the moment I click on OK, it automatically transfers the file onto my computer for me to look into it. Similarly, I can also transfer a file from my computer onto remote computer by simply clicking on Send File. I pick a file, I have sort of log files here. I click Open, and it prompts me to choose a location on the remote computer where it has to be saved. I pick a location in a specific directory and then click on Select. So the moment I click on Select, this file gets transferred onto the remote computer. So this makes the work more easier. When I'm working on the remote computer, I do not have to attach all these files in an email, send it over, wait for an email to be delivered, and then open up the files. So I can instantly share files while I'm on a remote support session. The next I have is chat. So we understand that there is not going to be anyone at the remote end while I take control of an unattended computer. But imagine this scenario where I'm working on an unattended computer, hoping there is not going to be anyone at the remote end, and I, like I said earlier, I see the mouse cursor moving. So this makes me more concerned because there may be someone at the remote end while I'm working on it. So to know that, I can use the chat, click on text chat. I can introduce myself, and then I can ask, who is this? So if there is someone at the remote end, they will reply to you. And if you think, okay, he is an authorized person to be at your computer, you can let them work on it. And if not, you can instantly go into the tools and shut down the computer. Or maybe you can blanken the screen. If you do not get any response to the text chat, you can also use the voice and video chat we have here. You can simply click on video chat, which will ask for a confirmation at the remote end. Would you like to accept? The moment I click on accept, it will establish a video call with the person at the remote end. That way you can also see who the person is at the remote end, and you can authorize them that way. But here you see your customer has declined the chat invite, which means the moment the person declines the chat invite at the remote end, then you have to be a little more concerned about it. And then you can go into tools and turn off the computer or lock the screen or blanken the screen so that the person at the remote end will not be able to see anything that you're working on the computer, or even lock it. So if the person is authorized, they can enter their credential and log into the computer again. So these are the options we have in the toolbar after taking control of the remote computer. Now, what happens after you're done with the session? You have the exit button here. The moment you click on exit, yes, I need to confirm it. So this gives me the duration, how long I was on that computer, followed by which I can also write a note about this remote support session. The reason being is, now, as you see, I just worked on a computer, which is an unattended computer, but I have a few here. So based on the requirement, if I happen to work on multiple computers, I just have to click on connect beside each computer. And every time I click on connect, it opens up a new tab with the computer name beside it. So this lets me know that I'm working on a specific computer, and I can also switch between the computers based on the names. So when I'm working on multiple computers, after some time, let's say after 25 minutes of a session, on each session, I may not be able to recollect anything that I did on that particular session while I generate a report. So if I could write a tiny note about what I did in this particular session, I can read through the notes in the later part from reports. So for example, this is a remotely session. So I wrote a tiny note saying this is a remotely session. I save it. This gets added automatically to the report. So in the future, while I look into the report, I can also see the notes to analyze what this session was about. So it's not just you. Whenever your colleague conducts a remote support session, they can write a note. So when you manage them all, this note will explain you what your colleague did during the remote support session. Also, we usually share most confidential data or some important data through chat. So these has to be saved also for future reference. That is where you can download the chat transcript by clicking on download. And this will download the chat transcript on your local computer for your future reference. So here I click on close, which exits the complete session right now. So we have now completed two portions of the presentation. One is how you configure a computer for unattended access, the different method we have to configure a computer for unattended access, and how you can take control of an unattended computer and the options you have after accessing the unattended computer. The next we have is how you can organize them. in terms of managing the computers, or maybe what are the other features that you have in terms of managing the unattended computers. To check that out, you can go to assist.zoho.com, Unattended Access, click on Settings. Now, the first we have here is Groups. Now, we have just been dealing with the three computers here in this image, but then we usually have thousands of computers configured for unattended access. As we all know, we usually configure the entire computers. As you saw in the deployment through distributor, we have around some 3,000 computers that can be configured for unattended access. So if I have configured all of them, it would be hard for me to pick a computer from those 3,000 computers. So to segment them well, we have group options here. So as you see in the screen, it starts from Brazil, Britain. So this gives you an image that these groups are designed based on geographical location. Or you can also group them based on the department. Say, for example, you have different departments in your organization, a few taking care of the actual development, few behind sales, few behind marketing, and a few behind support. You can create your own department by adding the group name. Let's say I have a group called support, and support computers in here. I click on add devices. This will list all the devices that I've configured for unattended access. So what I do is I pick a couple of them and I click on create group. So here you get a message, successfully created, and you would see the group that you just created, which says support, and you have a couple of computers in it. Now, with this list of computers, which shows all groups here, you can click on all group. You can pick the computer, or you can pick the group that you just configured. So for example, I go into support group, which will list me the computers that I've moved to support. So if you have some thousands of computers configured for unattended access, you can segment them well. So for example, I have 10 in a specific group under support. You just want me to see those set of groups. I can go to support a group, which will list me only those 10 computers. And this way, I can easily pick the best computer that I need to have access to. Instead of looking at all the computers, and then it would eventually be hard for me to pick a computer from the larger number of computers. The next I have is session confirmation. So when I was talking about the privacy, it's not just that you take control of your own computer, which is an office, or the servers that you configured for unattended access. Sometimes our clients would also let us have access to their unattended computers. They let us configure their computers for unattended access and let us work on their computer off business hours. So if I have configured a computer for unattended access, which is one of my clients, before actually jumping onto the session, I need to confirm that this computer is ready for me to work and I'm not disturbing my client while they are working on that computer. So that is when you enable session confirmation. So when you have enabled session confirmation, you can also have a custom message here. Here I have a design saying, can I access your computer? So with this feature enabled, as soon as I click on connect beside the unattended computer, it doesn't connect automatically, but then it requires a confirmation from the person at the remote end. Only if they confirm it, I'll have access to the remote computer and I'll be able to work on it. And if they deny it, I'll not have access. Again, I can request another session control after some time. The next I have is Wake on LAN. This is one of the essential features that we use of late after we started working from home. Not all the computers are turned on in our office. We have around some 3,000 computers in our office, and most of them are turned off. While we all left the office, we did not think of leaving it turned on for later access. So we just turned it off as we usually do, and we left the office. Now, unfortunately, if I need to have access to that particular computer, which is actually turned off or shut down, it will be a little tricky if I don't have wake on LAN option in Zoho Assist. So here with wake on LAN, I just have to make sure I have a computer, another computer in the same network, which is accessible, which means it is turned on and connected to internet. Now on this computer, which is actually turned off, I just have to disable deep sleep mode under the adapter. Either it is Ethernet adapter, local area connection, or wireless adapter, local area connection. With the deep sleep mode disabled, as long as this computer is plugged into the power source, even if it is turned off completely, I can turn it on and start working on it. So which means I can click on power on here. So when I click on power on, it sends a magic packet from the computer in the same network, which is accessible to that particular computer, and it turns that computer on. So I can also have access to a computer which is turned off in a network. So these are a very few of the features that we have for unattended access, which means this covers the major portion of unattended access. This will be more than sufficient for a person who has to configure a computer for unattended access them with the features involved in after taking control of that computer, and also organize them. So I hope this covers it up. And let me hand over to Anjana.
Thank you, Anis. That's been very useful, to be honest. That's fantastic. And answers. I just want to let you know, guys, if you have any doubts or anything you want to know more about Zoho Assist, please follow these links. So we will be sharing, as I said to everyone, that we will be sharing our recorded version through email. And if you wanted to have a view, just go into our website and you can see our recorded webinars. So you can see all our webinar sessions there. And you can also use our knowledge base where a lot of people have been questioning, frequently asked questions are there. So you can see those question and answers as well. If you have any inquiries, please email us to this address, support@zohoremotely.com, or you can text, email it to me or Anis as well. And I thank you very much for your time. Have a great day.